Hi, I'm Dave Epstein, and welcome to this edition of Growing Wisdom. Today we're going to talk about soil. So I'm here today with Dave Valenti. We're at Valenti Farms in Needham, and a lot of different soils, a lot of different bags of soils. Of course, you could order soil and have it trucked in, but if you have a small garden, folks like to buy a couple of bags. A lot of choices, so we want to go over some of the things that are out there for you, what you should use it for, and also what you shouldn't. So we'll let you talk, Dave. We're in front of the manure and compost, so let's start there.
So we've got a bunch of different options, and you'll find these sort of anywhere. You have a straight cow manure, composted cow manure, which is great for vegetable gardens. You have some compost of shrimp and seaweed. You have some just regular organic farm composts. Then you'll have a dehydrated, which has a little bit more nutrition value for the plants. The biggest thing with these is they're an amendment. They're not a potting soil. They're not a soil you're planting anything in. You're taking these, hopefully on a yearly basis, and sort of incorporating into the top 6 to a foot, 6 inches to a foot in your garden, getting them in there, adding organic material all the time, just to improve, and maintain from year to year.
How many bags would you need? Let's just say you had a 10 by 10 foot area and your soil was pretty good. How many bags do you need?
I think a 10 by 10, you're getting 1 cubic foot bags. If you get 5-6 bags and just incorporate it in, you're fine. You don't want to overdo it because you want to keep your soil composition nice. You want to, too much of some of this stuff, like a real heavy composted manure, you'll lose some drainage. You want to keep it nice. You want to keep it light, but not too light. It's a recipe, and it depends on what you're growing. If you're growing a lot of tomatoes, the compost stuff's really good because you're going to get that flavor. You're going to get the nutrition from the soil into the fruit itself. If you're doing something like a blueberry or raspberry, you're looking more at drainage and staying more acidic, so it might change what you're looking at.
And if I put too much of the compost in, it actually holds a lot of moisture, right? And that's
exactly.
the problem.
And that's when you want to look at something, if your soil is like that, some peat moss. People even add sand occasionally, just to kind of get that air in the soil and to get some drainage.
I have a part of a garden that I've been working on, and I actually bought some just sand. You don't want to buy the play sand, you want that coarse sand.
Exactly.
And mix that in, and you almost get a feeling, you can tell that the soil is going to allow some drainage, but it also has nutrients as well.
Exactly, and that's going to help you resist disease on a lot of vegetables to get more drainage through there. And it's not like you're trying to drain it out and make it arid and make it, a desert, but there's a fine line there.
What about for containers? Do you have stuff here that you can put in containers?
Yeah, we have a lot of different stuff. Generally, a container mix is more kind of soilless media. You're getting your barks, you're getting your perlite and stuff that's going to help it drain, but also help it retain moisture. And we have a bunch of different products like that, whether organic or some non-organic materials that'll work great.
So Dave, we've got the container mix here. Can I buy this, put it in a container, and plant it as is? Do I need to do anything?
Only thing you might want to add is some fertilizer.
So what's this complete planting mix?
So this is sort of a mix of both. This is a nice mix. It's lightweight. It's not as thick as a regular topsoil. It's just a nice soil amendment if you need to fill in a patch in your garden bed. I wouldn't use it for patching lawns. I'd use something more like a topsoil, but it's just a nice kind of in between.
And why not for patching lawns? Why would this be not as good as the topsoil?
The topsoil is just it's more rich and it's going to promote a lot more germination out of your grass seed and things like that.
And could I plant? It says complete planting mix.
Yeah.
So could I just stuff a plant in this? Do I need to do anything to it?
Same thing. You definitely could. It definitely will work as a container mix if you wanted to. I recommend the container mix if only because it's a little lighter weight, a little better water retention and drainage. I know that sounds like two opposite things, but there's two separate characteristics in the soil that you want to make sure you keep an eye on.
Great. All right, so we got a couple of pallets here of peat moss. What would be some of the things, folks go into their garden center and they see a big thing of peat moss and they think, maybe I want it. What do they need it for?
If you got soil that has real bad drainage, is really mucky, really thick, clay type, lousy soil, this will help drainage. It'll help lighten it up. It'll help keep some air in the soil to promote better root growth. And you can also use it. People have used it in the past as a mulch, or even over some, if you're trying to reseed a spot in the grass in your lawn, use it over that because it's going to retain the moisture a lot better with this as kind of a top dressing.
It seems counterintuitive to talk about retaining moisture but drainage. How does that?
When it's incorporated in the soil, it helps to lighten it up a little bit. And then when you're using it as a top dressing, you're retaining you're not losing a lot of it to the atmosphere. You're retaining that moisture that's in there that's so important for on warm days like today to get any kind of grass to germinate and stay alive after it germinates.
So anything you recommend, you talked a lot about the fact that, maybe you need peat moss or maybe you need some composted manure? Is there any way that someone can really understand or know what's going on?
I mean, a lot of it can be done by eye. You're going to know if you have a clay soil or real sandy soil where you wouldn't want to add a peat moss. But we always advise sending a sample off to the UMass Extension Plant Diagnostics Lab. They'll give you a full workup. It's not too expensive, and then you'll know sort of where your trouble areas are. It's like anything else. It's like cooking. It's a recipe. You want to have the right balance of everything, and you can see a lot of it just by grabbing the soil and seeing what grows and what doesn't grow. But having sort of the idea of the backbone and the ingredients in what you were starting with is always a good place to kind of begin your journey.
And by the way, folks who aren't in Massachusetts, your local extension services all across the country have those soil testing, and it's
Absolutely.
not very expensive at all. It's a great thing to do. Dave, thanks for your time. Always a pleasure. For this edition of Growing Wisdom, I'm Dave Epstein.